There is no way the Wizards would possibly pull off this trade for LaMelo Ball, as it is rumored he wants out. That's the rumor going around right now. He wants out. The Wizards have some veterans that they can part with, along with a plethora of draft picks that they can also say, you know what, we don't need these. We have all these second round draft picks. What are we actually going to use them for anyways? Like, what's the point of having them? Might as well package them in a trade to go get a superstar. And it looks like the fan base wants a point guard. That's what it looks like. They want a point guard. So why not go get LaMelo Ball? Well, I am here to tell you that this is not the trade you want to make if you are the Washington Wizards. And there are so many other trades out there that you should try to focus on going after. All right. We're going to break down what those trades are in this video, along with me telling you guys why I don't think LaMelo Ball is the right fit in Washington, D.C. on the Washington Wizards. All right. If you guys are just now seeing this channel, all right, and you probably will be, as this is the first video on the channel, welcome to Wizards Digest, a podcast and kind of show. I don't really want to call it a podcast. It's more like a show, all right, covering the Washington Wizards this season as they are off to a rough start, okay? I'm Bryson Akins, your host for the channel here. I'm a writer for Wizards on SI, so I have some inside information I can bring you guys, all right? Maybe when I'm covering some games, some post-game reactions in the stadium, that would be cool as well. So just kind of giving you my insight, professional opinion into some thoughts on this team, all right, along with some moves that they could potentially make, along with any info I can get from some of my sources on the inside regarding this team. And our first video on this channel, we had a previous one. If you guys are coming from that one, I'm sorry. Don't follow that one anymore. Follow this one, all right, as we had some bugs going on with that channel. But our first video here is talking about LaMelo Ball, as apparently he wants out, he wants a trade, as reported by Kelly Iko over at Yahoo Sports. Amidst a rough 4-11 start, Hornets star guard LaMelo Ball has grown increasingly frustrated with the organization and is open to a trade, league sources tell Yahoo Sports, all right? This is interesting, though, because just recently, today, as a matter of fact, when I'm recording this video, LaMelo Ball actually said the source is not from me. It's false info. LaMelo Ball on rumors of being open to a trade from Charlotte. So is he on the trade market? Is he not? I still think he is on the trade market, okay? I still think he's on the trade market. I still think Charlotte's going to shop him around, see what they can get, okay? Maybe a few first-round draft picks. I say he goes for 2 max. I think his value is much lower than what people are kind of saying and thinking his value would be at. I've seen some people suggest like he's going to go for 4 first-round draft picks, maybe 3 seconds. I don't have him going for more than 2 picks in total. All right. I think his value is extremely low. I think they just want to dump him off and focus on some younger guys and focus on, building up some guys that they've recently drafted and some younger guys like Tijon Saloon, Concanupple, who's been playing pretty well for him as well. And whoever they get in the upcoming 2026 draft is someone else that they're going to want to focus on. And LaMelo Ball is just going to take away those reps. Wizards fans have suggested, though, that they hop in on this and try to trade for LaMelo Ball. And I'm telling you, that's not what you want to do, all right? We can take a look at the stats real quick for him. It's not like he's a bad player, all right? 31 minutes a game, he's averaging almost 22 points, 7 rebounds, and then almost 10 assists per game, which I think this is the most assists he's averaged in his career, if I'm not mistaken. And he's averaging 1.4 steals per game, and he's, not doing anything down low in the paint whatsoever. 3.7 turnovers per game, I don't like that. I don't like it, all right? And 3.1 fouls per game, not a fan of that either. His shooting percentage has fallen off a cliff as well. 38% from the field, 29% from 3. He is young, 24 years old. He is on the younger side. So, he would fit the timeline for a bunch of rebuilding teams for sure. Shooting 76% of his threes are assist, and 49% of his shots are 3-pointers, and then 36% on corner threes as well. So it's not like he's a bad player. Let me get that clear. It's not like he is a bad player. I just don't think he's the fit in DC, and here is my reason why, all right? And this came from me over at Wizards on SI. The offense is clearly there, though he turns the ball over often at 3.7 per game. The trade sounds excellent in theory, but if it were to happen, this would ruin the entire rebuild for the Wizards team. Ball is an all-star caliber player, but that does not mean he would help every team he is on. There are 2 main reasons why this trade would never work. The first is that he's a horrible defensive player, and the second is that it would stunt the growth of other young players. The Wizards are really struggling on defense, ranking among the worst in the NBA by many metrics. If they make a trade, it should be for a player who can help the team on defense. Ball would make this defense work worse. The offense is already looking decent and has promise. Still, this team has to do something to improve the defense for future seasons. The truth is, Ball would make this defense historically bad and just frustrate fans even more. It's like having a worse defensive version of Jordan Poole back on the team, and that's how I see him. He is a worse Jordan Poole, all right, on defense. That's what it is. He might be a better offensive player, but he is much worse on defense. He's not good at it whatsoever. He is a cone. He gets blown by too often. He can't handle anything in the paint. It's just he doesn't know how to play defense. That's the problem. And that's why I say you don't trade for him. However, there are two players, though, that I think would be a good idea to kind of go after if you are the Wizards. And one of them is a point guard, and one of them is a forward. And the forward I'm going to mention is kind of a star a little bit. If you look at him, has some injury history, but his value is insanely cheap. And then you also have guys that are looking good as guards, that could play that point guard, point forward role a little bit. Will Riley in the game against the Toronto Raptors, NBA Cup action, he didn't look bad as a point guard. Keyshawn George can run that point forward a little bit. You're also probably going to get that first overall pick. Hopefully you can get Darren Peterson there. And there's also some good point guards later on in the draft when I was talking with Tyler Rucker over on my other podcast, All Wizards Talk, talking about some other prospects there at the point guard position that you could trade up for middle, late first round, or even take 30th overall with that Thunder pick. But the first guy I want to talk about for a potential trade would be Zion Williamson. All right. We receive Zion, and New Orleans would receive Chris Middleton, Malachi Branham, 2026 second round pick, 2028 first round draft pick, and a 2029 first round draft pick. I talked with one of my buddies, Troy Halliburton, about this trade. He thinks Zion's only going for 2 picks max as well, so you can take away one of those first round draft picks. Boom. It works. They just kind of want to shed him and get rid of him and focus on some younger guys and focus on rebuilding through the draft and really, bring light to Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fierce. So it would work, and he's a good player to get as well on the squad. It's not like it's bad. 31 minutes a game. He's averaging 21 points per game, almost the same amount as LaMelo Ball. 6 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. Not a lot of blocks, but he's averaging at so many more steals, though, at 1.8. I think his blocks per game will also increase if he did come over to DC a little bit, as he would need to back up this defense a lot more. 3.3 turnovers per game, not the greatest, but it is to be expected with a big man like him. 2.7 fouls per game, and he's shooting 48% from the field. Hasn't made a three-pointer yet, but I don't think he's taken many three-pointers, as it's kind of like what Alex Sarr is doing right now, where he's almost taking a three-point shot completely out of his game. He only shoots it when he, is very confident he can make it. And he's going, 35% of his twos are assisted. Imagine a pick-and-roll game between him and Keyshawn George, him and Bub Carrington. That'd help out. Him and Trey Johnson. Create some space for Trey off the dribble. It'd be great. And he's still young as well, 25 years old. He's not even entering his prime yet. Give him 2 years. He's going to enter his prime. That's when you have him getting out of this rebuild. This team would be great with Zion Williamson on it in a season or two. And that's why I say you go after him and trade him, really indoctrinate him into this team and get him used to what the guys are doing over here. The second trade I want to mention is one that's not as, star-studded, but it does fix a ton of holes on this team, and you could just draft purely for who is the better player in the draft instead of trying to go for fit and potentially take Peterson if you have that top 3 pick. And that guy is Colin Sexton. Tijon Saloon's included this just for salary reasons. You can find some other players to help out with the salary cap as well for this trade to actually work. But Charlotte would receive CJ McCollum, a 2026 second-round draft pick, and a 2029 first-round draft pick. That's what I'm saying. I've heard from people in the Hornets fan base and organization saying that they really value Saloon. So maybe he's not included in a trade. You find someone else just to make that salary match a little bit better. And then, the second round and first round draft picks stay the same. Boom, it works out. But Colin Sexton, he's a really good player who fixes a ton of holes for Washington, not only right now, but for the future. When you look at his stats, he's not a bad player either. 26 minutes a game, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, all right? Almost averaging a steal per game. He's a good defensive player. The stats might not show it, but he's a good defensive player. Think of it like a Lou Dort kind of situation. Lou Dort doesn't have a ton of counting stats, but everyone knows he's a good defensive player, and that's what got him a first-team all-defensive nod. Colin Sexton was drafted in this league because of his defensive ability. Bringing him over to DC where defense is his primary focus. He's a good defensive player, and this team has historically, one of the worst defenses that we've seen in a very, very long time. It would fix a lot of holes over there. He's also shooting 40%, almost 40% from three. The Wizards are surprisingly a top 10 three-point shooting team in the NBA, believe it or not. Bring this guy in here over here as well. It would open up the floor a little bit more for Keyshawn George. You also have a point guard who's better at passing a little bit as well, finding some Alex Sarr pick and rolls, finding some more open teammates. You no longer have to have CJ McCollum at the starting point guard spot and run point forward Keyshawn George as much. It fixes a ton of holes, not only right now, but for the future. He's also young, 26 years old. He's the oldest player out of these guys, but he's only 26. He's about to enter his prime. And like I said, it's not like he's a star. It's not like he costs a ton of money or draft capital or a ton of players either. He is a guy that fixes some holes for you and is going to be cheap for the long run when this team starts to get a little bit more expensive with how Keyshawn George has been playing, Alex Sarr, potentially, extending Trey Johnson to a max deal if he turns out to be the player a lot of people are hoping him to be, along with whoever you draft in 2026, keeping these guys kind of together a little bit. So he's a cheaper option. However, I would put Zion 1, Colin Sexton 2 for that trade, those trade packages as well. And then just LaMelo Ball, just throw it out. You don't trade for him whatsoever. I'm sorry, you don't trade for the LaMelo Ball. He's not the guy you go after. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know you guys' personal thoughts are on a trade, who you guys think the Wizards and Will Dawkins should trade for this season. That's all I got. See you guys in the next one.